Imagine being a young law student and choosing to risk everything for freedom. Today, we're diving into the powerful story of Hannie Schaft, the courageous woman who went from the classroom to the front lines of the World War II resistance. Let's uncover her journey and the legacy she left behind. The story of Hannie Schaft, a young law student who became one of the most iconic members of the Dutch resistance during World War II, is both tragic and inspiring. Known as the girl with the red hair, Hannie risked everything for her country, sacrificing her own safety and future to fight against Nazi occupation. Her legacy endures as a symbol of courage, resilience, and patriotism, remembered for her unwavering commitment to justice. This is the story of how a young law student transformed into a hero of the resistance. Early life and education. Hannie Schaft was born as Janet Johanna Schaft on September 16, 1920, in Haarlem, Netherlands. Her family was politically progressive, and they instilled in her values of equality, justice, and a deep respect for human rights from an early age. Her father, Peter Schaft, was a teacher, while her mother, Aptje Tulia Schaft, had strong pacifist beliefs. The Schaft family supported the socialist movement and believed in the inherent rights of individuals. These values would later inspire Hannie's passion for law and justice. In 1938, Hannie enrolled at the University of Amsterdam to study law. She had a natural inclination for subjects that addressed justice and equality, and her goal was to advocate for those in society who lacked a voice. However, as Nazi forces began their occupation of the Netherlands in May 1940, Hannie's life would take an unexpected and dramatic turn. The occupation introduced brutal policies against Jewish citizens, and witnessing this injustice deeply disturbed Hannie, igniting a passion within her to actively oppose Nazi oppression. Joining the Dutch resistance, the Nazi occupation forced the University of Amsterdam to adopt strict policies against Jewish students. Hannie's friends and classmates who were Jewish faced expulsion and persecution, causing her to feel increasingly angered and helpless. After several friends were forced to leave the university or were taken to concentration camps, Hannie made the difficult decision to leave her studies in 1943, fully committing herself to the resistance movement. Her principles of justice no longer allowed her to stand by as an observer. Hannie joined the Rod van Verzet, RVV, a prominent resistance group in the Netherlands. The RVV was responsible for organizing sabotage missions, gathering intelligence, and aiding Jewish people in escaping persecution. Hannie's courage and her steadfast commitment made her a respected member of the RVV, even though she was one of the few women involved in such dangerous operations. Her distinct red hair became both an iconic feature and a liability, as it made her easily identifiable. To mitigate this, she often had to dye her hair black during her missions, although she later became widely known as the girl with the red hair. Acts of heroism and sabotage. Hannie Schaft quickly became involved in high-stakes missions that would test her bravery and commitment. She undertook a range of assignments, including carrying secret messages, transporting weapons, and even participating in armed sabotage. Hannie showed no hesitation in confronting members of the Nazi regime and its collaborators directly, making her one of the most effective members of the resistance. One of her first major acts of defiance involved aiding in the escape of Jewish children. Hannie helped to forge identification papers and create safe passages for Jewish families attempting to flee persecution. Her willingness to protect those who were vulnerable became one of her defining qualities, setting her apart from other resistance fighters. Later, she would become involved in more dangerous assignments, targeting high-ranking Nazi officials and Dutch collaborators who were actively assisting the Nazis. Hannie's most famous acts of heroism involved assassinations of Nazi officers and collaborators, alongside other resistance members, including Truus and Freddy Overstegen. She executed planned attacks on individuals who posed direct threats to the Dutch people. These missions often required Hannie to operate under intense psychological strain and physical danger, yet she remained committed to her cause. One of her most notable missions included an attack on a Gestapo agent who had been targeting members of the resistance. Despite the risk, she carried out these missions with a level of determination that gained her the admiration and respect of her peers. The role of women in the resistance. Women in the Dutch resistance were often involved in more covert, logistical roles such as hiding refugees, forging documents, or acting as couriers. However, Hannie Schaft was an exception to this rule, frequently taking on roles traditionally reserved for men. Her participation in armed resistance missions was a testament to her resilience and her refusal to conform to societal expectations regarding women's roles. Hannie's efforts demonstrated that women were just as capable as men in contributing to the fight for freedom. In her partnership with Truus and Freddie Overstegen, Hannie demonstrated the power of women in combat. The trio became known for their fearless approach to sabotage and their refusal to bow to Nazi authority. They were often underestimated by Nazi officers and collaborators, which allowed them to operate more freely and carry out some of the most daring missions of the resistance. Their friendship and camaraderie helped Hannie stay resilient, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Capture and execution. As the war progressed and the Nazis began to lose control in Europe, they intensified their efforts to root out members of the Dutch resistance. Hannie Schaft became one of their primary targets due to her reputation and her effectiveness as a resistance fighter. In early 1945, she was arrested by Nazi soldiers at a checkpoint after being found with compromising documents. Despite torture and brutal interrogation, Hannie refused to disclose information about her resistance colleagues. On April 17, 1945, just 3 weeks before the end of the war in Europe, Hannie Schaft was executed by Nazi forces. Her death was meant to serve as a warning to other resistance fighters, but it had the opposite effect. Hannie's sacrifice became a symbol of courage and inspired many to continue the fight against oppression. Legacy and recognition. The memory of Hannie Schaft lives on as a powerful symbol of bravery and defiance against tyranny. After the war, she became one of the most celebrated figures of the Dutch resistance. In the Netherlands, her life is honored annually on National Hannie Schaft Day. Schools, streets, and organizations have been named after her, and numerous books, films, and documentaries continue to tell her story. The Dutch government awarded Hannie Schaft posthumous honors, acknowledging her role in securing Dutch freedom. Her story is often included in history classes across the Netherlands, reminding future generations of her sacrifices and her commitment to justice. Hannie Schaft's journey from law student to resistance hero is a testament to the power of conviction and courage in the face of overwhelming adversity. She exemplified the qualities of a true hero, choosing to sacrifice her own safety for the sake of others. Hannie's legacy endures as a reminder of the bravery and resilience of those who fought against oppression during one of history's darkest periods. Her story teaches us about the importance of standing up for justice and the impact that even one individual can have in challenging injustice. Hannie Schaft remains an inspiration for all who believe in the power of courage and the unbreakable spirit of those who dare to resist. That's the remarkable story of Hannie Schaft, a true hero who fought for justice at any cost. If her bravery moved you, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts on her legacy in the comments. Until next time, let's keep her story alive.